everyone, my name is Chloe and welcome to part 3 of my favorites of 2022. So as you guys can probably assume, I have a really hard time picking favorites, and just doing a cumulative favorites video just was not a thing that I could do because you can't compare. You can't compare across genres, and what I loved in one genre is not necessarily the same as what I loved in another. So today is going to be my favorite nonfiction. So I love nonfiction. I feel like it's a really great slump buster for me. Just because it's a total change of pace and a total different way of thinking. And memoirs, especially, you don't really have to think. You just, I love listening to them on audio, and you can just listen to people tell their story, and nothing is better than that for me. So here are my, again, sticking with the theme of 5 plus 1 bonus, here are my 6 favorite nonfiction books of 2022. So as with the other videos, these are books that I read in 2022, not books that were necessarily published in 2022, although some were. So let's just get into it. So the first one is Ain't That a Mother by Adiba Nelson. So this book is all about Adiba Nelson. She is has a daughter, I believe, that has cerebral palsy, and she is an author and activist for cerebral palsy. And I just found her writing so funny, but also touching. And she talks a lot about generational trends and how hard it is to kind of break out of that. She came from a family that was no dads and that kind of stuff. And so she kind of had that situation starting to unfold in her life, and how she just fought for her kid, and then how she continues to fight for her kid. And I just loved that. But it also talks about dating and stuff as a Black woman. And I felt like I was very eye-opened, but also very relatable and also just funny. There were times hearing her choke up made me choke up. So I literally laughed and cried in that book and would highly recommend. Next is Gentle and Lowly by Dane C. Ortlund. And this book is one that Krista from Books and Jams, she did a month-long kind of read-a-thon or whatever, where every Sunday she came on and had a certain chapters that she discussed with people. Now, I could not get it done in that month. I just don't know why. I had a lot going on. And so I read it later, and I loved it. It just reminded us of the Spirit of God and how He is gentle and lowly, and He is not this condemning God. He is just right there for us in the hard times, and He's gentle and lowly and compassionate and kind. And I just feel I don't know that this book necessarily said anything that I haven't heard before or that I don't already believe, but it's just so great to have the reminder. And again, on audio, just to let that truth speak over you and sink into you feels so good. So I loved that one. Next is The Light We Carry by Michelle Obama. So this one just came out, and I am a Michelle Obama fan. So if you're not, maybe take this with a grain of salt. This one is definitely more, I would say self-help, empowerment book than her other one was. This one is all about the light that you carry inside of you, that we all carry inside of us, and the worth that we have just because of who we are. And this one has nothing to do with politics, nothing really to do with her life, as much as it's just about the light we carry. And I loved it, and hearing her again talk to me, it felt like this mother hen just talking all this encouragement over me, and it felt so good, and I loved it. Next is 2 that are similar. Speak by Tunde. This Tunde is a Peloton instructor, and I have fallen deep into the Peloton rabbit hole. This year, I dislocated my knee and then broke my ankle, which means that my favorite forms of exercise, being running, walking, elliptical, all that kind of stuff, was not possible. And the soonest I could exercise, it was biking. And so I really fell into Peloton classes. And also, I'm trying really hard to get myself into strength training. And so I'm doing a lot of strength training classes. And Tunde is known for her arms and her arm classes, and for being a very difficult instructor. And so I have started taking some of her classes, and I saw she had a book, and I couldn't wait to read it. So the subtext of this one is find your voice, trust your gut, and get from where you are to where you want to be. And this tells her story of how she did that. She is, I believe her family is Ethiopian. Maybe her family is from Africa, and the beauty standards are so much different. And then living in LA, maybe, I can't remember, somewhere here in the States, she was a young tween when she started getting body criticism, and she was bigger than everybody else. And she really started to think about that and what that meant. And she had to kind of go through a journey. Yes, it was a weight loss journey, but that's not what it was about. It was about discovering her confidence. And she did that, and she got rejected from Peloton and then came back and persevered. And gosh, that would be hard. And she is, I just think it's so ironic. She is was the most self-conscious about her arms, and now that's what she's known for, because they're beautiful and strong. And I mean, I feel a little torn on the fact that she did have to lose a bunch of weight to really discover her beauty and her worth and all of that. But I felt like it was so much more, and that she still has a slightly different body type than the ideal. It's not far from, I think almost anybody would love to have her body. But I really liked hearing her perspective on things, and just remembering that beauty is a cultural thing, not a universal truth. And yeah, I highly recommend. So then the next one that is kind of similar to that is Shut Up and Run by Robin Arzon. So Robin is also a Peloton instructor, and she is my favorite. I love her so much. She is confidence and empowerment in personified. Her classes always make me feel better about myself, even if I don't do great at the workout. And she has a history of running. She did not start running until she was 23 or something, is when she ran her first mile. And then now she does did ultras and all of that kind of stuff. Now she's a mom, and she has some kids books I just looked up because we have them. It's Strong Mama is one she has, and then Strong Baby is coming out. But anyway, her book about running, both it's kind of a how-to on running, and I feel like you could really pick it up. I think it's probably most geared toward people who are already running and maybe interested in learning how to train and do the long distances, whether that is a marathon, half marathon, ultra, whatever that may be. So this one is definitely kind of a how-to, and if you're not into running at all, it's not 100% memoir. It's mostly actually a how-to in running. But as a runner, it's very motivating to just read about running. Yes, this is why I love this. This is she uses running as her coping strategy for a lot, and for some really hard times she goes through in life. And it was so relatable to me, because that's how I got into running, is through a hard time in life. And I started doing it, found a community, all of that. And I just love it. So definitely recommend that one. And then the last one is Half Baked, The Story of My Nerves, My Newborn, and How We Both Learned to Breathe by Alexa Stevenson. So if you guys are new to the channel, we had a preemie baby in August. So she was due at the end of October, and she came at the end of August. So she was 2 months early, and we ended up spending 46 days in the NICU. And that's so not at all how my first two birth experiences went. Both of my other girls were overdue and had to be induced. And I just the NICU and that whole preemie world, it was so foreign to me that I did what all book nerds do. And I started reading book after book after book about how to go through this time, how to navigate it, because it is the hardest probably thing that I have done to date. And so this one was by far my favorite. It was a great mix of relatable and telling her story without being scary. Some of them have really poor outcomes, and it's just hard to read, especially when you're in the midst of it. And some of them have really, really hopeful outcomes, which is also kind of hard to read when you're in the midst of it, because there's an envy thing that comes up. There was definitely a lot of heart checks going on, but this one I felt was the best mix of comforting, relatable, all of that. So if you know somebody going through a NICU experience, I would highly recommend this book. If you're not going through that experience or haven't gone through that experience, I don't know that you would like this, but for me, it was very meaningful. So those are the 6 books that I felt like were most meaningful to me in the year 2022. And like I said, I love reading nonfiction. I love being able to learn and grow. And not that you can't do that from fiction, but I feel like it's really amplified in nonfiction. And I would say these 6 all really impacted me and will have long-lasting impact. So let me know if you've read any of them. Let me know if you're interested in any of them. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in part 4.